Welcome back, one and all, to Big News Wednesday. Hey everybody, it's me, John Idarola, and it being Wednesday and all, here comes Sharon Reed. Sharon, how's it going?
It's going great. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here, not only to break down the news in the first hour, but I am very much looking forward to our aftermath today because, and this doesn't happen often, it's all good news. I mean, it's not all necessarily like substantive good news. Some of it is that, the rest is us making fun of bad people, but there's nothing really like a downer or negative in the last half hour. So although we are gonna have to engage with some relatively serious stuff and a couple tragic stories in this first hour, then we're gonna get to relax a little bit and that'll be nice, I think. So, look forward to that, Sharon. Anyway.
Yeah, I think we've earned it. It's a nice reprieve. I think a midweek reprieve, but it's just a little one.
Yeah. Let me throw it out to the audience. If I'm excited about a big block of good news, what do you think at least one of those stories is gonna be about? I think the audience can probably guess based on who I am and my personality and all that. But before we get to all of that, we do have this first hour, and in it we are gonna be talking about the Epstein files. That vote that we've been waiting on for literally months finally happened, and there's some interesting wrinkles around that. We've got Donald Trump, who really wants these files to come out, he tells us, freaking out anytime a reporter asks about it. So we've got updates on that as well. And then we're gonna talk about, we actually have a lot of Texas news today, despite Yaz not being here. We're gonna talk a lot about what Greg Abbott has been up to, the various billionaires he's covering for, the religions that he is persecuting. There's a lot going on in Texas these days. And then a whole lot more besides. We have to talk about Donald Trump's insane Oval Office thing with MBS and the insane and I think impeachable things that he said there with the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. So we have that and more. We got DHS, we got all sorts of stuff that we need to talk about. And so everybody buckle up for that. Definitely hit the like button, share the stream, send us your comments or tweets or super chats. And also prepare yourself for tomorrow, where a half an hour after the close of the aftermath, we will be doing our tier 3 hangout. So that's gonna be fun as well. Okay, I thought I was having a problem with my document. I was starting to freak out and then I realized we just had the same title of a block as yesterday. So it was my brain, not the document, that was short circuiting. Anyway, with all that said, Sharon, are you ready to jump into some news?
Yesterday, today, the same things keep happening, so it's all good. Yeah, I'm ready.
They do. No, it's different today. We had the vote. There's
right.
movement, there's progress. And with that said, why don't we jump into it, starting with this.
Any reaction to Leader Thune seeing the bill without adding amendments or changing it?
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think I'm told, I've been at the state dinner. I don't know. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
So do you think he may veto it? You say you spoke to the president?
I'm not saying that.
Is he supportive of it in its current form?
We both have concerns about it, so we'll see. I was standing there with the Crown Prince. We couldn't talk.
Are you frustrated in the majority leader? Are you upset with the majority leader?
Yeah, I think he's frustrated, actually. He's giving off that angry little leprechaun. Like he's like a leprechaun that was like trying to trick you out of your gold, but then like you figured out the answer to the riddle and oh no, he's mad and he's gonna go squat under a mushroom and stew for a little bit. Yeah, no, Mike Johnson's not happy about that. And it's weird, I don't understand why he's not happy, because he voted for the documents to be released yesterday. He's on board. Okay, he's not trying to cover it up. He didn't wait months to see a new member of Congress specifically to stop this from going forward. No, he wanted it. And Trump obviously is on board. I mean, Trump told them all to vote. That's what freed up so many of them to do so. It's not that they both glommed on at the last second to something that was gonna pass without them and it was gonna make them look like a bunch of dinks. And so they wanna be a part of it and seem like it's their victory too. And yet they got what they wanted and the vote went through almost unanimously. Almost, we'll return to that. And yet he's so mad. And in that question, you got why. So Mike Johnson thought he was clever. he's like, okay, we're gonna pass this House thing, but don't even worry about that. It's no big deal because then it's gonna go to the Senate and I'm gonna get the Senate to just consider a bunch of amendments or whatever. Just something that would make their version of the bill different than our version of the bill, which would mean that even once they pass that, if that were to happen, it's not done. It doesn't go before Trump. Then it has to come back here. And now, oh boy, we can start to quibble over amendments. We can slow this thing down. I can have control once again. Oopsie doopsie, that's not actually how it worked. Instead, the Senate just took up the same version and then passed it. And now it's gonna go to Trump. Now, don't get ahead of yourself. That doesn't mean that they're just going to allow this to happen. Again, neither Mike Johnson nor Donald Trump want any of these documents to come out. They are trying to cover up for this thing, but I do love that at least this version of the cover up didn't actually work. And so I'm gonna give you just a little bit more of Mike Johnson and then we'll discuss the failure of his plot here.
The discharge petition could create new victims, okay? Because it requires the DOJ to release information even in cases where the DOJ or the FBI has already reviewed it and determined it is not credible, it is false information. Doing this and requiring this to come out could ruin the reputations of completely innocent people, such as those who may just have known Epstein but knew nothing of his crimes or whose names he exploited. Think of this, innocent people whose names he exploited and used to try to get close to his intended victims. Their names may be in these files and they had nothing to do with this. And so by just haphazardly releasing it, you're gonna destroy their reputations. Releasing information containing the names of innocent people would subject those innocent people to a guilt by association. It would create an entirely new group of victims who have no means to clear their names. That's a concern of Congress and it should be.
That's what he's concerned about, Sharon. He's just concerned about think of those innocent people. Here, let me turn this around on you, little leprechaun. Why don't you think about the innocent people that were sexually assaulted by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and potentially other people? Could you spare 2 seconds of thought for those innocent people? No. Those innocent people aren't big donors or anything. No, there's innocent people. I don't know who. I mean, maybe they're well connected. Maybe they're donors to Donald Trump, the Republicans. Who knows? Or to the Democrats as well. I don't know. I definitely don't know. I'm just worried about innocent guilt by association. How about this? How about before we spare another year of time worrying about potential hypothetical guilt by association, how about we start to have some actual guilt by decades of association? You know, the billionaires like Donald Trump who were best friends with Jeffrey Epstein, who knew what he was up to. All these people that up to right now, including you who've been covering for him. That's the association. I'd like to see some guilt finally at long last, Sharon. So again, we're not done with this thing. There's still a lot of steps. I'll discuss those, but what do you make of the vote?
Okay, the vote, beautiful. They ripped the rug right from under him. And usually Mike Johnson, he lies and he's so flawless in the execution of it. He struggled with this one. And by the way, his Republican colleagues looked constipated behind him. They did not want to be there because he sounded like a fool. But the footage that you showed of him running up the stairs being asked, "Are you disappointed?" His face this was so beautiful. It was like Jeopardy is on around the kitchen table at my house. So my mom and sister were always way ahead of the game. They knew every answer, I didn't. And then Wheel of Fortune would come on and I actually had a chance until my sister called it the answer. And then that's what my face would look like. I'd be so disappointed. He was so disappointed. That's as many words as you want to break it into. Look at this. And because he knows he's got to go to the principal's office. And Donald Trump is furious. You told me that whole delay thing that you laid out beautifully, John, was this is what we're gonna do, then it'll be Christmas, blah, blah. And now look, it's wonderful. Thank you, the victims have been waiting long enough.
Yeah, there's a couple wonderful things here. So one is a wonderful side of a silver lining of the Democratic collapse on the shutdown. Again, there's very real consequences of that, and those don't go away, but we're getting all of this because they collapsed. So I guess there's at least that silver lining. And the other is, I just love the image of you and your family sitting around the dining room table watching. I really like Jeopardy. I never remember to watch it, but when I do, I love it.
Do you know the
me and you got to do some Jeopardy.
My sister, my mom, they knew all the answers. And I just, I didn't really pay attention.
I mean, I'm not
smart, but
Yeah, I'm sure you're underselling yourself, but I enjoyed trying. It was always fun. But anyway, so before we move on to the one no vote, I just want to acknowledge something. Like, you already know that Mike Johnson and Donald Trump are being super fake about this entire thing. They did not want this to pass. I mean, that's why he's so angry that it's passing. But I just want to remind everyone, just in case, of the added layers of how fake they're being. So what just happened yesterday? Mike Johnson voted for the discharge petition, and a bunch of Republicans voted for the discharge petition because Donald Trump told them to. So Mike Johnson and Donald Trump want the discharge petition to be passed. But I want you to remember what's happening right here. Why is it a discharge petition? It is only a discharge petition because that is the only way to get a vote on it that Mike Johnson can't unilaterally kill. So Mike Johnson's like, yeah, let's do the discharge petition. Dude, you wouldn't even need a discharge petition if you hadn't been blocking it for months. It would have just been normal legislation. So you are a fake. And then Donald Trump's like, yeah, you know what? I want transparency. So I think they should do this discharge petition. The only reason the discharge petition is needed is to get the DOJ to release documents you've been stopping them from releasing. If you wanted the documents to get out, we wouldn't need this legislation. You just release the documents. You could do it this morning. You could have done it yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago. You could have done it at any point. So both of you are being utterly fake. The mere existence of this maneuver in the first place is only there because both of you have been doing everything you can in comically inept fashion to cover up for the crimes of one of the most notorious sexual predators in American history. And please, nobody ever forget that. Trump's a fake, and Mike Johnson's a fake, and basically all those Republicans that voted for this thing but weren't signatories to the discharge petition before this weekend are fakes. They never actually wanted it. They certainly weren't going to expend any political capital on it. If you want to, you can give some credit to Marjorie Greene, to Lauren Boebert, and Nancy Mace. And yes, I feel a little bit gross having said the sentence that I just finished saying, but at least they were going to do it when it was difficult and potentially costly to do it. Donald Trump did not want them to do it. He dragged Lauren Boebert into the Situation Room, treating the release of the Epstein files as like an issue of national security on the level of the war in Iraq, of taking out bin Laden. He clearly thinks that that's serious, and Lauren Boebert, to her credit, and only in this area, still signed on to it after that. All the rest of them are goddamn fakes, and please, nobody ever forget that. Now, there's one person who isn't even one of those fakes. Clay Higgins voted no. He's the only one. Clay Higgins, no vote on releasing the document, even though he knew it was gonna happen. He wanted to go down in history as the one guy who would say at this late date, no, over my dead body. So he voted no. Now, he called it a principled no. We're gonna have to agree to disagree about that. But he says the reason is it abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America, which, by the way, if that really bothers you, you might want to take a look at Donald Trump because he's abandoning quite a bit of criminal justice procedure in a lot of different areas. But he says it's going to reveal a bunch of stuff that's going to hurt innocent people, blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that Mike Johnson has been saying. And to be clear, no, it doesn't. First of all, this was written in consultation with some of the lawyers representing the victims. They are actually concerned about information of truly innocent people coming out. And so they are already ready to protect those people. And also, and this is a bit of a fly in the ointment, bear in mind, Pam Bondi is gonna redact the living hell out of this thing. There's just gonna be sheets of just pitch black paper coming out. That's what it's gonna be. We are gonna be lucky to get almost anything here. The idea that a bunch of true innocents are gonna be caught in the crossfire is just fake. Clay Higgins does not actually believe that. He is lying. And he was even fact checked in the community notes on Twitter when he was talking about his principled no or whatever. And so he's, I think, very justifiably being attacked about that. And I think, again, like if he is remembered historically in any way, and I don't think he necessarily should be, it should be for this. But that said, I want to add one extra wrinkle to this that I had not been familiar with. Thank you to my producers for finding this and Mother Jones for reporting it. But he apparently was buddies with a guy who was convicted of incest after a teenage relative accused him of sexually assaulting her between the ages of 14 and 18. So incest is just the beginning of the crimes of this guy. Now you might think, well, that's guilt by association. Well, but is it? Is it unfair to tie these two together? Leon Boudreaux is the guy that did these crimes. Clay Higgins has been a member of the motorcycle group dubbed the Kindred Vets that Leon Boudreaux founded, and the two are apparently close. They appear together in numerous photos posted to one of Higgins's Facebook pages, and they're also pictured together in photos posted by the Kindred Vets in 2022 and 2023. Okay, a year earlier, Boudreaux was convicted of incestual sexual assault, apparently spending years sexually assaulting a relative kid of his. Boudreaux confirmed that he's a longtime friend of Higgins, that he rides motorcycles with him. He said that Higgins was aware of the charges that had been brought against him. Quote, back when all that happened, he did call me. He called to check on me, but we don't really talk about that kind of stuff. Yeah, years of sexual assault, that can really ruin a nice, fun ride in the hills with your buddies. But that is him saying, Clay Higgins, and look, I guess it's him saying it. Clay Higgins hasn't confirmed it or whatever. But Clay Higgins finds out that his buddy, that he knows from a motorcycle group, has been sexually assaulting a relative of his for 4 years, and he calls to check on the predator. And then, what do you know? He wants to protect other predators too. So he is at least consistent on this, Sharon. What do you think?
My God, this soap opera. Okay, that's right for a soap opera, and just hand them everything you just said. This is stunning. Except I guess the afternoon soaps don't too much get into incest. This is disgusting. I can tell you that Higgins is relatives, probably a great grandson or daughter, will change their name. They're going to change their name. No one wants to say, yeah, my great granddad was in Congress and he was the only one that voted not to release the Epstein files. Sicko behavior. And by the way, I'm with never thought I'd say it like this, but the incest guy, he's telling the truth, Johnny. He has nothing else to hide. Everything's out there, okay?
Yeah.
They've known each other. Higgins knew about the abuse, and they rode off into the sunset together often. Sicko behavior.
Totally sick. Like, it's not even like it's hearsay. You've known the guy for decades, and then there's unsubstantiated reports or whatever. It's like, you're just in a motorcycle club with him, man. You can throw him under the Harley at this point. Like, you don't have to be. Jesus, I rode motorcycles. I understand that there's like a bit of a camaraderie to that or whatever, but I think it ends where the incest begins, at least for me. Maybe that's just East Coast sensibilities, I don't know. But anyway, that's a terrible guy. Let's talk about one more terrible guy. This is a bit of an update to a story we talked about yesterday. Now, remember, Donald Trump, he wants transparency now. I mean, if you believe like Marjorie Greene and all the rest of them, he's always wanted transparency on Jeffrey Epstein. But since this weekend, he's posturing on social media as if he wants it. And yet, I've noticed what a lot of people have noticed, which is despite his newfound support for the documents coming out, he really doesn't like when you ask about this topic. And he's been pretty gross in regards to especially women asking about this. So here's a little update starting with this.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
It's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. People are wise to your hoax, and ABC's your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that.
I understand that it's her career that would be on the line, but I would pay every cent I have for her to have responded to all that by saying, quiet, piggy. It's worth being fired. You know what? Because whatever podcast, Substack you start after being fired over that, you're gonna make $1 million. But anyway, he was absolutely brutal to that reporter for being insubordinate and asking a great question, which is, why not just release the files? Again, he can if he wants to. Dude thinks he can steal files and bring them to the Mar-a-Lago bathroom if he wants to. He plays fast and loose with the files when it's to his own benefit. In this case, he needs to have his arm bent behind his back to do so. That is a good question. It was not asked in an insubordinate fashion. And then he's not even mad at the reporter just for her question about Epstein. He references that she was mean to the very respected MBS. MBS can go F himself to the ends of the earth and the end of time itself. He shouldn't be sitting in the Oval Office. He shouldn't be normalized or respected by literally anyone. Not a reporter and certainly not the president of the United States. But obviously, as always, Donald Trump feels a million times more like kinship to some international elite, regardless of his grotesque crimes, because he's wealthy too, and they have nice things, good ballrooms and everything. And how dare you ask an actual question? You're being unprofessional by doing your goddamn job. But obviously, I referenced there not only her question. He lost his mind over a Bloomberg reporter, Catherine Lucy, and said, quiet piggy to her, which if it was up to me, maybe I'm being triggered, I don't know. I think he should have been impeached for that. It's absolutely insane. It's time to send him off to an old folks home. What the hell is going on with this place? But some reporters have shown solidarity with both of them. Caitlin Collins, who at this point I think is in the absolute S tier of reporters working in this White House, says, my colleagues in the White House press corps, Mary Bruce, who I believe is the reporter that was just in that video, and Catherine Lucy, the one referenced by the president as piggy, both do a great job. I know Gretchen Carlson, who's been on the receiving end of this sort of thing, sent out messages of support for both of those. But Sharon, you're gonna be shocked that the White House isn't backing off even for this incredibly misogynistic and juvenile statement. They sent a statement about this saying, this reporter, the Bloomberg reporter on the plane, not in that video, behaved in an inappropriate and unprofessional way towards her colleagues on the plane. If you're gonna give it, you have to be able to take it. She asked a question in a press gaggle. Serious question about incredibly important, timely news. And he called her piggy. And so their standard is, if you're gonna give it, you have to be able to take it. Well, he gave it. So I think they're freed up to refer to him as President Piggy until the end of time. Again, it's not my standard, but it is very much his standard, Sharon. What do you think?
Yeah, and while, listen, Caitlin Collins asked some tough questions and has put up with much of the same time and time again in front of Donald Trump, but I guess I see it slightly differently. I'm not interested in social media solidarity. It's time for the press to stop doing things by the old rules. If you're going to sit idle while he leans in, he actually leaned into her personal space on the plane when he called her piggy and when he attacked the ABC reporter. Every single reporter should just start we're all asking the same question and we're not gonna stop every time you come out. And that includes Miss Levitt as well. Okay, this is disgusting. I don't need you to tweet about it. I need you to jump on the bandwagon in front of MBS and everyone else and keep asking the valid questions to this loser.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, again, I don't like any of this stuff, but if this is now the standard and the White House press office is saying this is how it works, well, then if Carolyn Leavitt's mean to you or whatever, tell her quiet piggy. Again, this is treating her the way the guy she loves and supports more than anyone treats other women. Why shouldn't she be treated the exact same way? Because she hasn't come out and said that he's wrong to have said that. I am sure that deep down she thinks that, but unfortunately she prefers her cushy job and her paycheck, her proximity to power.
Sorry. Does she deep down? Isn't she the one who wrote your mom? When a reporter
that's true.
Emailed
that's not as bad.
Questions. How did you learn that? Your mom? I'm not sure she does.
Okay, you might be right. And by the way, I totally agree with you that while a tweet is good, there has to be something. I mean, the issue is I thought through, what if they just decided we're not showing up? Donald Trump loves having the press, we're just not gonna show up. The issue is, it isn't that I necessarily think that they couldn't show that sort of solidarity. Like in some cases they have, after all with the Pentagon, they did. The issue is Donald Trump would actually be happy to just fill that plane with InfoWars and Daily Wire and all the other BS, PatriotEagle.news and all that stuff. And so, but they gotta do something. One of them, Caitlin Collins, I'm begging you, please call him Piggy. I will support you to the end of your career. You just call him Piggy, please. But anyway, it's probably not gonna happen. Now, that said, the one person who can be relied on to fight fire with immature fire, who do you think it is? If it's somebody on social media and politics today who's going to use these sorts of terms, obviously Gavin Newsom. So Nick Adams had tweeted, if President Trump called you right now, what would you say to him? And Gavin Newsom responded, quiet piggy. And look, I don't know if this is, I don't want to break news or anything, but I'm endorsing Gavin Newsom for the presidency after that tweet. No, I'm actually not, but I did love it. I'm basic in some ways, and I just, at a certain point, I want someone to punch the bully in the face as hard as they can. And this is the sort of thing that will hurt Donald Trump more than anyone else. And by the way, Gavin Newsom is now doing this fairly regularly. He posted this, quiet piggy, and I am 64% sure that left photo is AI. I am 64% sure. The right one's real. And it is also, it's a shot of cannibalism, which maybe we should have censored that actually. I don't think we should be showing cannibalism live on air. But yeah, Gavin Newsom's hitting him hard. And again, I don't like this and I want us to back off in the same way that fighting fire with the gerrymandering should inevitably end with all of it going away. I want that here too. But at a certain point, we've gone too far, okay? They've crossed too many lines and we gotta stop them at some point. Any other thoughts, Sharon?
You're right, this is a fun show. This is a great show. And I absolutely need to hear, shut up, Peggy, the next time he opens his mouth. This is incredible. This is a great job. It's real too, this is real. This is a mirror you've held up. This is outrageous.
We live in ridiculous times, and I have never wanted to talk to Donald Trump in my life, but now I do just for this. And not just him, by the way. JD Vance, I'm coming for you too, buddy, if we ever chat. You're getting a biggie. Anyway, we're gonna take a short break. When we come back, we're gonna turn away from the national picture, focus a little bit on what's going on in Texas after this. I think this is the straw that broke the camel's back for me mentally. He called a reporter piggy on camera, and he did it on purpose. He knew that the cameras are rolling, and he called her piggy. That's insane, man. That is so wild. Can you imagine if Barack Obama called a reporter piggy? Fox would have lost their minds, and so too am I. Okay, let's respond to some comments. Some of these we didn't get to on yesterday's show. Iron Maiden has sent it a super chat saying, I love Trey's accent. Also, John's shirt choice today. What was I wearing yesterday? I think I might have been wearing a ceasefire shirt. And some people might wonder why I would still be wearing a ceasefire shirt when we have a ceasefire. Well, because we don't. And I'm not gonna pretend like so many people are. A Rags to Ruin story says in super chat, Gavin Newsom is another good example of why you need to be careful about current rhetoric versus prior actions. He's calling for a big tent mindset from Manchin to Mamdani, an abundance mindset, he says. That seems to cut off. I'm not sure if there was another message. By the way, to be clear, I'm not actually endorsing Gavin Newsom for the presidency, but I will say, I do think it is very clever of him to be doing this stuff because I think it is gonna draw over a lot of other people though. And it certainly draws attention to him. Okay, Badgering the Witness Dragon says in a super chat, if Higgins is not a PDF file, water is not wet. There have been no allegations specifically about him, but he sure doesn't seem to mind those who are all that much. You know how happy I would have been to vote yes on releasing those documents? It would have been a point of pride, but not for him. His pride lies in other areas. Anyway, Green New Dealer Dragon says, Gavin went from extremely bad to neutral in my book. No, I mean, substantively, he's still bad. Not on every topic area, but on some, again, like it's mostly stuff that affects California. I don't expect people all around the country to be aware of it or to care necessarily, but he betrayed his voters in a number of different ways over the last few years. He's also done some good stuff. Like again, I can do the nuance and everything, but anyway, Ole Sorvand sent 50 memberships. Whoo boy. Well, thank you for that. That is super nice of you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. Very nice of you. Mad Mama says in a super chat, Clay Higgins is my rep and his vote honestly makes sense if you saw the people who voted him in. Yeah, but I wonder about that. I mean, like Marjorie Greene, Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, they all say that during the shutdown when they were talking to their constituents, all their constituents were supportive of what they were doing. And we know MAGA, look, there's still plenty of MAGA that supports Donald Trump on this issue, like 1 out of 3 or so. But this is the topic that's really gotten through to them more than almost anything else, even Israel, I think. And so I don't know, like I'm sure he's in a super conservative district, but I'm sure there's a lot of people there that believe in an elite cabal and all that and want to see it brought down. I don't know. Gargoyle Dragon says, public office is the last refuge of the scoundrel, or public office is the last refuge of the incompetent if you like the whiz, and these incompetent scoundrels like to show the saying is true, 100%. But the one thing you can count on is that they want this refuge. They don't want to lose their position and have to go get another job. And so sometimes they'll even do the right thing if they think that's what they have to do to keep that position. And that's what represents, I think, 99% of the support from Republicans for that discharge petition. Okay, 19 seconds, let's see. Lilo Stitch Dragon's been here on Twitch for 53 months, says I can't wait for sweet, sweet karma. Mike knows, or he doesn't want his skeletons out also. I don't think he's covering up for himself, but I do think he, like Trump, is covering up for the donors. But we'll see, we'll see. Okay, everybody, let's do a deep dive into what's going on in Texas, starting with this.
We also want to have extreme transparency. So like no shady backroom deals or whatever, everything done in the open, total exposure. Like you can see the mistakes that are made, the good things that are done. You can comment on it. You can, raise concerns. We want a transparent, open government.
Yeah, no, he doesn't, and I can prove it. His actual commitment, in fact, to extreme exposure seems to be limited to doing his little happy jumps and exposing 6 to 8 inches of milky white belly. Aside from that, the dude does not want you to see what's really going on, certainly not in those backroom deals. And here's an example of how that works in practice. So, after months of work from a number of different actors to get Greg Abbott's Texas to release documents about their actual backroom dealings with Elon Musk, we finally have the documents. They've come out despite both Elon Musk and Greg Abbott fighting to stop the documents from coming out. But that said, even now that we have them, it is not extreme transparency. We've got 1,400 pages of documents. 85% of them are entirely redacted. All the words. Not like there's a few things taken out. 85% are just nothing. You get nothing, you lose if what you want is an end to corruption in government. All but about 200 of them are just entirely blacked out. Of those that were readable, many were either already public or provided minimal information. They included old incorporation records for SpaceX, a couple of agendas for the governor's committee on aerospace and aviation, emails regarding a state grant awarded to SpaceX, and an application from a then Musk employee to sit on a state commission. So effectively, anything that would actually show what was going on has been blacked out, and they just gave people what they already have at this point. So some records included a note that appeared to explain why they decided to do this. So a note on page 401, for example, cited the exemption for competitive bidding records for 974 redacted pages. Names and emails of Musk's employees were also removed. And here is what Abbott's public information coordinator said about that. So in addition to SpaceX's request, that guy, Matthew Taylor, also asked the Attorney General of the state office for permission to withhold documents, arguing they included private exchanges with lawyers, details about policymaking decisions, and information that would reveal how the state entices companies to invest there. And here's the thing about that. If people believe in the state that there are corrupt dealings going on behind closed doors between the Greg Abbott government and SpaceX, or just Elon Musk generally, what they want is information about how the state entices companies to invest there and policymaking decisions. You redacted on purpose the entire purpose of getting the documents. They think you have done stuff that you want hidden, and you have proven it by hiding it. And so, Sharon, I can't tell you what it is that they actually did, how much either the tax incentives they gave or Maybe actually just legit illegal things they did to get Elon Musk to come there. I don't know, maybe killing regulations, covering up things that have happened at their locations. I can speculate, but that's all I can do because the cover up is happening in plain view. And so that's the reality. Elon Musk can go on stage and be like, I like extreme transparency. In the end, that means as much as when he says he likes extreme free speech. He doesn't in practice, not when it infringes on him. What do you think, Sharon?
No, you're absolutely right. And I don't think it's speculating at all with these stupid redacted emails. He's shown us who he is, Greg Abbott. He's a nasty, nasty governor. Okay. I couldn't think of another adjective. Okay. But frankly, there are governors across America of late. Some on certain party have been sticking up for the greater good, but he's not one of them. He's proven to be a liar, someone who loves deceit, someone who loves to see people have pain inflicted upon them, someone who enjoys barbed wire fences, okay? And if they can be, live wires attached, that's even better for him. So I don't think you're speculating at all. It's all of the above. Elon Musk and his chainsaw, we saw you coming a mile away, okay? You and Big Balls, you and your team, and nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. You're still the same people.
Yeah.
All hang together.
100%. By the way, Sharon's very underrated for her dry wit and her commentary. I really do appreciate it. No, you're 100% right.
That's his name, right? Is it his self-title?
It is his self-title. And I said for a long time, if you're gonna call yourself that, prove it, buddy. Come on, honestly, show him. Show them. At the very least, they're probably still swollen from that beating the kids gave you. I mean, that's got to give you some kind of an advantage. But anyway, no. They're both they're trash. Elon Musk, Greg Abbott, trash people. And it really now comes down to Texas. Get Greg Abbott the hell out of there. Jesus, free yourself. He is ruining your state. Okay, with that said, let's move to another thing going on in there. And this is probably the darkest point of the show today. So everyone prepare for that. Let's move on to this. We have yet another unfortunate and heartbreaking consequence of just trying to live in post-Roe America, specifically here in Texas. We have Tiara Walker, who is pregnant, who died because her doctors didn't give her a life-saving abortion. And that top line is devastating. Every detail that's added on makes it even more heartbreaking. So here she is in this photo provided by her son. So as I said, she had been pregnant, and in the weeks since she'd learned she was pregnant, she'd been racked by unexplained seizures and mostly confined to a hospital cot. So she is very unhealthy during this pregnancy. She has soaring blood pressure and diabetes, and so she knew that she was at high risk of developing preeclampsia, which can be a very serious, obvious, a very serious health complication during pregnancy. So then on the morning of October 14th of 2024, for the sake of her 14-year-old son, she decided that she was gonna ask her doctor for an abortion to protect her health. And she said, wouldn't you think it would be better for me to not have the baby? She asked to a physician at Methodist Hospital Northeast near San Antonio, according to her aunt. Just a few years earlier, she had already developed a dangerous case of preeclampsia that had led to the stillbirth of her twins, so she had experience with this. But the doctor, her family said, told her what many other medical providers would say in the weeks that followed. There was no emergency, nothing was wrong with her pregnancy, only her health, which should be all it takes to listen to her and give her the pregnancy that she obviously in the end did need to save her life. But no, again, they didn't think about her as a person who needed to be protected. They only thought about the fetus. That's what all the decisions were made in regard to. And so tragically, just after Christmas, on his birthday, the 14-year-old son, JJ, found his mom draped over her bed, lifeless. An autopsy would later confirm what she had feared and tried to avoid. Preeclampsia had killed her at 20 weeks pregnant. As Walker's blood pressure swung wildly and a blood clot threatened to kill her, she continued to press doctors at prenatal appointments and emergency room visits, asking if it was safe for her to continue the pregnancy. Although one doctor documented in her medical record that she was at high risk of clinical deterioration and or death, she was told over and over again that she didn't need to worry. More than 90 doctors were involved in her care, but not one offered her the option to end her pregnancy, according to medical records. And I can't say for sure why all of those nearly 100 doctors didn't offer that as an opportunity, as an option, but I can speculate because I know what Texas is like. And I bet more than a few, maybe the majority, maybe all of those doctors were worried that if they did what was necessary to save her life, they could end up behind bars. They could end up with massive backbreaking fines. They could end up losing their medical licenses, because this is what Texas wants. It wants to put pressure on the doctors, not to do the right thing and save lives, but to do whatever is necessary to give a chance of protecting the fetus. Screw the mom, screw the pregnant person in this case. Doesn't matter, not worthy of consideration. And by the way, how did it work out for the fetus? That's what all your thought was for. Nearly 100 doctors. Amazing that in a country like this, you could have that many doctors looking after you, but all of them are pressured to only care about the fetus. And this boneheaded, self-sabotaging, stupid caveman Texas policy resulted in both deaths. So great job, Texas. Sharon, what do you think?
Yeah, it is a great job. If this is what you believe, this is what you subscribe to. These people are pro-death penalty, but claiming to be pro-life. Now they've killed a mother and a fetus, and we're supposed to believe that they are here to represent the greater good. If you vote for someone like this in this day and age, knowing all you know, and continue to give trash boxes the benefit of the doubt, it's on you. And guess what else is on you? The blood of this mother and this fetus. And oh yeah, the poor kid who will never forget the sight of finding their mother like this. Great job. If this is the devil you pray to.
100%. It's a 14-year-old who could have had long life with his mom. By the way, they don't want her to have that abortion. She had multiple pregnancies, even having had terrible medical experiences in the past. She was still trying to have other kids. Might have. If they had saved her life in this case, she might have had a kid in a year or two. Not now. Not because of the priorities of Texas. And how many of these stories have we done? How many of these stories have we just done with Sharon on Wednesdays, by the way? But this is what we said would happen if Republicans got their way, and this is what is happening in the states that have moved in this direction. Okay, we're gonna take a short break. We've got a lot more news to get to after this. Ugh. By the way, I'm sort of like planning ahead. What do you think the chances are if Donald Trump, knock on wood, eventually passes? If my first tweet is quiet piggy, do you think I'll be fired? Do you think I'll get in trouble? I don't know. Will I be investigated by the DOJ if my first tweet is quiet piggy? I don't know. I think if you dish it out, you should be able to take it. That's what I've always thought. But anyway, we'll see.
The skin is really thin.
Yeah. Okay, Jen Lily Marie sent a membership. Super nice of you. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. Hubby Dragon, member for 21 months, says, can we get a piggy emoji? Could we get a Trump pig, maybe with like an X over its mouth? I'm gonna try to work on that. Gargoyle Dragon says in Super Chat, this just in, how Texas got SpaceX from their emails. Elon and Greg blew Bubba bubbles. If I'm wrong, Abbott could release the real emails. We're left to speculate. There could have been anything in all of those redacted pages. I don't know. Anyway, Brett Campbell says in the members' comments, I'd rather listen to Charlie Brown's parents all day than Mike Johnson. Man, Mike Johnson is such a dud. We've had a lot of bad speakers in the time that I've been covering politics. Not all of them Republicans, by the way. But Mike Johnson is just such a weaselly little worm. Man, the Republican Party, they love to talk about alphas and all that, and yet they are filled to bursting, chock full with just weenie little men, little half men. Hold on. There's a suggestion for Trump with pig snout with hand over the mouth emoji. Yeah, it would have to be like the classic Jordan emoji when he swore on the show and then did this. Okay, let's work on that. Let's dispatch Norma or Carlos. Okay, over on Twitch, Shell and Tell's been here for 15 months. Thank you for that. Much appreciate 15 months of support from you. Microgram says Mike Johnson has never cared about ruining people's lives. It's literally all he does. Yeah, again, I will never understand these people who worked their entire life to get into these positions of power. And then in his case, not even to just use it for evil, although there's plenty of that, mostly to just hand it over to Donald Trump. And I'm sure that he is doing what like Ted Cruz did. By the way, I don't know if you guys saw, Ted Cruz is now like apparently like trying to get ready for 2028. Sharon, I don't know what do you think in an open primary 2028? Let's say that Trump doesn't declare the election over or whatever. What chance do you think Ted Cruz has in that?
You mean running for Senate again?
No, I'm saying if Ted Cruz tries to go for the presidency.
I think write-ins of Bugs Bunny will be in. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think you're probably onto something. Again, you never know. I mean, look, he was basically the runner-up in 2016, but it's been so long since then. Partially, he was only the runner-up because he refused to leave. He wouldn't necessarily have been the runner-up if others had stayed in, but yeah, these people think that if they just keep their head down, then they can be strong and dignified later on. No, you're giving it all. You're selling your soul, Mike Johnson, or it's long sold. Anyway, okay, let's see. Bridget Smith says in a super chat, the woman in Texas told the doctor she needed the abortion so she could be with her already born child. We fail to understand she doesn't need to use her son as an excuse. She is enough, her health is enough. Exactly, that was the point that I was trying to make in the clip. She shouldn't need to say any of this stuff. You know what she should have to say to get an abortion? I want an abortion. That's what it should be. That's the end of the story. Anyway, we'll be right back. Okay, everybody, before we jump into more news, just wanted to let you know about one of the partnerships that we here at TYT are doing, in particular with Noble Mobile, the only wireless plan that allows you to get cash back for using your phone less effectively. If you sign up for their Noble plan, you get unlimited data for only $50 a month, and any data that you don't end up using, you get credited back to you. So rather than that money going to shareholders, it goes to you instead, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. And most of the carriers would probably prefer that you don't do that. People who switch to Noble save on average, they say $500 to $1,000 a year on their phone bill. And if you're interested in this, you can switch to Noble or get more information by visiting tyt.com/switch. Doing so supports TYT and our mission of delivering true independent media. Again, that's tyt.com/switch, or we have that QR code right there. You can scan that and get all the information you need. Now, with that said, let's take just a second to talk about something that happened yesterday that bothered me and I think bothered a lot of people. The idea that Trump was truly America first in any way that really mattered was always a farce. You can see the way that he sucks up to foreign dictators and covers for them, but it was truly on display yesterday in the Oval Office. So he's got the guy who ordered the butchering of journalist Jamal Khashoggi sitting there. And it's not just that he's having the meeting and maybe MBS will be really defensive about questions about it. No, Donald Trump decided to get defensive on behalf of the murderous dictator. And it's even worse in some ways than I made it seem in that intro. Take a look.
Is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the US intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news, one of the worst in the business. But I'll answer your question. I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it. And we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Think about how lucky that murderous bastard feels. He didn't even need to really respond. He can just sit back. Yeah, dog, do my work for me. Talk about how, yeah, no, it's all great. I didn't know anything about it. I mean, the CIA looked into it and said that he definitely ordered it. And he certainly looked put out, right? Oh, he looked so aggrieved by the fact that Jamal Khashoggi was murdered and cut into multiple pieces. But no, he didn't even need to say anything because his bought dog, Donald Trump, will do the barking for him. How dare you ask that question? How dare you ask obvious questions that people want answers to? How dare you represent families of the victims of 9/11? How dare you represent the widow of Jamal Khashoggi who still hasn't gotten the remains back, feels like she's been abandoned by her own government? How dare you ask all these questions? No, you're fake news because you dare to stand up to either me or to my other elite buddies. That was, and I know I say this a lot, and I feel like I'm right every time I say it, that should be the line that nobody will allow Donald Trump to cross. That he said of a murdered journalist, he was controversial, a lot of people didn't like him, things happen. Now I gotta make some money, this is my buddy. We're setting up golf courses, we're building buildings and stuff like that. Who cares if he had a journalist hacked up into multiple pieces? And it's okay, Sharon, it's okay. I don't see a lot of MAGA having an issue with this. This is America first, I guess. Doing the work of a murderous dictator, what do you think?
Yeah, and if he would have only just said, look, some sicko things happen. However, we're moving on. This is what we're doing. We've made a calculation and we're moving on. It's not what he said. He covered up for, and by the way, MBS, the cutaways that they did show of him, he went back and forth like a pendulum between this sheepish, 13-year-old just hitting puberty with this like stupid affect and grin on his face. And then other times he has very long eyelashes and you could tell he was kind of looking down in shame because nobody ever in his space, okay, or in his palaces, nobody ever is allowed to shame him. So this ABC journalist confronting him, okay, you're not even supposed to touch this guy, which Trump keeps doing. Keeps putting his hand on his back, touching his hand. Like that's a death sentence where MBS comes from. So there's that. But for most Americans to watch this, remember this guy was cut apart alive with a chainsaw, with this disgusting pig doctor who did it. Do we have to call him that? Who told, put headphones, it'll make it easier for you as this guy is writhing in pain. And there's actual audio recordings of this somehow. Okay, Turkey gave over something or another. Remember what happened here. And this guy is allowed to stank up the people's house. This guy is allowed to sit there making deals and calling reporters insubordinate. Get him the hell out of there 100%. Now. Epstein's just the beginning. Now drive a truck through it, impeach his ass, and get him out of there. He's not fit. You called him a dog, and my dogs are howling out back right now. They're not well behaved, but they resent it. They actually resent that you called that guy a dog. Okay, he's below animal status. Disgusting.
100%.
Just tell you a little bit how I feel.
A little bit, I actually got that. Him being impeached in the end won't end up doing anything, but it still needs to happen. Once the Democrats win the midterms, Trump is gonna offer up every week an opportunity and do it every week. By the way, if we could just spare 1 minute and we'll move on to other news. Pay attention just a second, President Piggy. You know what an actual man would do? You know what he would have done with MBS in that office? He would have snapped his fingers, FBI would have come in, hauled him away in chains, locked him up, get actual justice for either the widow, for the journalists who lost their colleague, for the families of the victims of 9/11, and you could have sent a strong signal to the world that I'm not gonna let petty little corruption over business deals, or you think you can strong arm America over like the placement of bases or whatever. No, we're not gonna let you just butcher people, okay? And then think that you can just be a member in good standing of the international community. No, get the hell out of here. You do that sort of stuff, you're gonna be hauled away, you're gonna be locked up. That's what an actual strong leader would do, but Donald Trump isn't a strong leader. Donald Trump is an incredibly corrupt leader who cares about making a little bit of money and earning the approval of that dictator. Absolutely grotesque. Okay, let's end the hour with one more story. Let's jump now into this.
As the night goes on, this protest is growing. Things are getting more chaotic, more intense. And I gotta say, it's turned into an arguably dangerous situation. As you can see behind me right now, people have been going around hanging out of their cars. I mean, we're in the middle of the road right now. People are burning rubber. So if you guys see smoke at any point, that's what that is. And yeah, there are children here. So we will see how it goes as the night goes on.
It's turned into an arguably dangerous situation.
Yeah, you can really feel the danger there. You can feel the chaos. That frog looked scared for his life right there as he waves at the camera. So that's Fox News. They've gone to Charlotte and they're doing their state media thing where they pretend that Antifa super soldiers are about to take down society or whatever. But while that reporter, utterly pathetic. I mean, that is embarrassing. I hope your family and friends are embarrassed for you for the job that you've decided to do and to consider that you're a journalist as you lie about what's going on back there. But I do like the camera person because it's really hard to sell the message that this is some out of control riot when you have an inflatable frog shyly waving at the camera. And then she tries to say, I mean, there are kids here. You know, another way you could say that, there are kids here. It ain't a riot, it ain't out of control. There's literally children and inflatable animals here. You're pathetic, Fox News. But that is Charlotte, obviously riven by Antifa violence. They'll probably be up in flames by tomorrow. But they're not the only ones that are there. DHS is there as well, and they've been doing arrests. They've arrested more than 130 people. And obviously the only reason they're there is because they have to get the worst of the worst, right? So probably 130 serial killers, mass murderers, terrorists in training, that sort of thing. No, DHS says that 44 of those people, so like 1 out of 3 of those people have been convicted of something, or at least suspected of some sort of crime, anything from driving under the influence to assault with a dangerous weapon. Now that is serious, right? I mean, that's apparently the high end of the crimes they've committed, because if they had committed like murder, they would have definitely said it. But also, that's not even the truth. It's not even the truth that just 1 out of 3 have committed some sort of crime. They're not even providing any evidence of that. They've provided information about 11 of the people who are arrested. That's 1 out of 10, okay? And do you think that if they had strong evidence of the others, wouldn't they release that evidence? So this is what they're doing. They're going in, they're arresting entire crowds, and then trying to find somebody with a DUI on their record or whatever. Which, by the way, if you've committed those crimes, you should pay the price for it. But do we really need to conquer Charlotte to track down someone with a DUI? That seems like it's going a little bit far to me. Sharon, what do you think?
It's more propaganda that America used to talk to other countries and dictatorships about. Instead, we have Fox News, state-run media, doing just stupid things. If kids are there and there's a frog waving at the camera, by the way, the camera guy's probably fired, okay? The kids are enjoying it. Listen, what happened to the guy who called the election? Okay, what was it, Arizona or something? Remember that guy? Fired on the spot. So the camera guy is now out of a job. Particularly if they watch this show, there may be people there who watch the damage report. He's done, John, okay? And that's how it has to be, because you can't show you can't show a live event, real event, and then put the propaganda words next to it. You kind of have to mix it up a little bit, but that's not what they did here. It's, again, the worst of the worst. I'm for free press. I don't want to say things like, well, let's, knock them down a little bit. Let's say you have to have these standards, but we have rules about everything. Again, stop going by the same old standards. Life and times have changed. And now you have frogs waving at cameras and ditzy people on Fox saying stupid things like, this is a war, help us all. It's a frog, okay? Kermit's not gonna hurt anyone. It was cute. You're muted, so I'm going to take over the show. It's my show now.
I'm going to end by providing a little bit of advice to that reporter who probably doesn't need it. In 3 years, she'll have her own show. In 8 years, she'll be, I don't know, Secretary of Labor under President Tucker Carlson or something, the way this country's going. But like, if you've been dispatched to pretend that there's a riot and you're delivering the lines, to her credit, she's saying, I can smell rubber. It's very dangerous. Don't act bored by the riot. That doesn't sell the danger that you're trying to sell to your audience. Just my advice to her. Anyway, with that said, we got to end this first hour. There's more to come in the aftermath, and it's going to be a lot of good news, a lot of fun news. We're going to lighten things up a little bit, so hopefully I'll see you there. For now, see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Aftermath, one and all. Thank you for being here. It's me, John, and Sharon. Sharon, as always, thank you for being here. It's a big pleasure. By the way, during the break, we were talking about the shows that our kids watch. What are you watching these days?
Oh, me. Reasonable Doubt. I do like that. Boy, hell of a season finale. I've been watching Beyond the Gates, the new CBS show. I finished watching this show called All American on Netflix. That was a pretty good show, and it even had a spinoff where like a couple of them went off to college. So that was a good show.
I don't know. All American.
Oh, and Seven Little Johnstons. Okay, they're in Georgia. They're little people. It's a family. They've adopted several, and I just love their family values. Although they're on the outs with one of the kids, and I think they should try harder. But yeah, I watch that kind of stuff. TLC, 90 Day Fiance.
Oh geez, I had a period.
Should I do
it? That, yeah.
You know,
should you do it? Yeah, I think you could throw a couple of months of your life into binging that. There's a lot. Okay, that's cool. Well, with that said, we do have to jump in. I've been promising good news, and we do have good news. I'm just going to briefly stop to thank Brendan for being a member, which is super nice of you, and Cosmic Ooze for gifting a membership, also super nice. And a reminder to our members, specifically our tier 3 members on YouTube. We are going to be doing our members hangout tomorrow, a half an hour after the close of the Aftermath, so definitely be there. Technauseated suggesting Pluribus. Brett was telling me to try Pluribus. I haven't tried it just yet, but I think I will. I'm really excited for Fallout to come back and Stranger Things. That's the sort of, I guess, schlocky TV that I watch. But anyway, with that said, why don't we turn now to the good news? We have, I think, one of the best signs yet that these midterms are probably going to go pretty well for the Democrats, maybe even like kind of historically well. So here's a poll showing the biggest generic ballot lead the Democrats have had since 2017, before there was even an AOC. And so you can see the generic ballot under Obama on the left, and then Trump, and then Biden. And it wasn't until Biden that the Republicans actually caught up to the Democrats. But now, after less than 1 year of the Trump second term, the American people have swung further away from him than they were under Obama. Like what we think of as like the good old days. And this chart right here, put it up one more time. Like, it is not often that you have a chart that in chart form effectively tells the president, quiet piggy, but this one I think is. It's saying we don't like you and we don't want you to have any power anymore. And so if this holds, that's going to be huge. It is like independents right now, in addition, choosing Democrats by a 33-point margin on the generic ballot. So overall, it's good news. With independents, it's good news. And this is pretty huge, but let's try to map this out over how the generic ballot advantage has worked out in terms of the midterm elections, how many seats you actually win. So if we go back to the fall of 2022, the last midterms, Biden was in the White House. Democrats had a lead in the generic ballot of 0 to 4 points. They ended up losing 9 House seats. It was a very narrow margin, could go either way or whatever. In 2018, during Trump's first term, Democrats had a 6 to 12 point advantage. They won 40 seats then. In 2014, when Barack Obama was president, Republicans had a 5-point advantage and ended up winning 13 seats. And so I think it's very reasonable to expect that if anything like this lead, which right now is a 14-point advantage, then they're definitely going to take control of the House and maybe even a good bit more than that. Even not even worrying about how the gerrymandering battle might now seem to be advantaging the Democrats rather than the Republicans. And so you're probably wondering, why this huge swing? Why is it that people have swung towards wanting the Democrats in control of the House? Well, Trump is at 39% approval. That is not good. That's the lowest of his second term. In the Marist poll, he continues to go down in that. He is at 24% with independents. That is, I've never seen that before. Independents want nothing to do with Donald Trump. And almost half of those surveyed, 48% said they strongly disapprove of the job the president is doing. That's the highest of his term, the highest since just after January 6, 2021. I don't know why they're singling that date out. What's like an important movie come out then? I don't know. But anyway, so it isn't just that people don't approve of his job. They strongly disapprove of it. And you can insert for yourself whatever reason. There's lots of good explanations. His terrible performance on the economy, the chaos internationally, the mass deportation insanity, the invading cities, the corrupt and out of control pardons, the aura of lawlessness and corruption and chaos that we've all been experiencing, and I think the vast majority of the American public just wants to be done with. And they think perhaps that at least giving the House, maybe the Senate, back to the Democrats means a little bit less of that chaos on a day-to-day basis. Sounds like good news to me, Sharon, but what do you think?
Sounds like great news. And maybe this is the glasses half empty in me. Just don't mess it up. All you have to do is listen. Don't get full of yourself and don't mess it up. Don't try to undermine candidates and people like our friend in New York, who's now the incoming mayor of New York. Listen, the people got this done. Democrats, frankly, largely screwed it up, okay? But not completely screwed it up. So all they have to do now is continue to listen and don't mess up this opportunity. But yes, it's good news.
Yeah, you brought me back down to reality. They are trying to limit the inspiration people can draw from Mamdani as much as possible. They're trying to marginalize the most dynamic members of their caucus. They really tried to ruin people's faith in them in Congress with the shutdown debacle. Now things have moved with Epstein in a direction that looks a little bit better for them, but there is still time for them to mess it up. I suppose if people can turn towards the Democrats this much in a year, they can turn away from them this much in a year. But still, at this point, that's the biggest gap that we've seen going back more than a decade. And so at the very least, it will be harder than usual for the Democrats to really biff this thing. But we'll see. Let's jump now to a related topic. We're going to stay focused on the polls here. Trump is losing yet another block of voters that he did very well with, surprisingly well with in 2024, and that the Republican sort of hopes going forward were really resting on the shoulders of Latino voters, and that is not working out very well for them, as will be described in this clip by Harry Enton.
Back a year ago, what did we see on the issue of immigration? Latino voters trusted Kamala Harris more than Donald Trump, but by just 2 points, 1, 2. Look now at Donald Trump's net approval rating on immigration among Latinos. He is 38 points underwater. That is a 36-point shift, essentially, from where we were a year ago on immigration. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are basically tied on the issue of immigration. And now on the issue of immigration, Latinos despise, hate Donald Trump. How do Latinos feel about Donald Trump overall? Let's take a look here. This, I think, sort of gives the game away.
Goodness.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I mean, that is the phrase of the day. Trump's net approval rating among Latinos. In early February, again, he was just 2 points underwater. Look at where he is now. Late October, minus 34 points, 34 points underwater, a shift of 32 points over the course of this year.
I mean, that's wild. And again, it's probably for, a constellation of issues. It's probably a little bit of foreign policy, a little bit of economy, a little bit of immigration, everything. But it always felt a little bit weird that they had moved so much towards Donald Trump when he utterly despises and constantly demonizes their community. And I don't know, maybe it's partly that. Harrington did a great job of delivering that information. I love that he counts in the same way that my daughter does. He'd be like 2, 1, 2. Thank you, Harrington, for spelling it out in that way. But yeah, that is a big turnaround in less than 1 year to move 36 points in the wrong direction. And so no wonder Republicans are starting to distance themselves a little bit from Donald Trump. He's having like a reek, not just the normal sort of old man / feces reek that he allegedly has all the time. No, now he's got the reek of lame duckery. He's smelling more and more like a rotting duck. And I don't think a lot of these Republicans want to be dragged down by his unpopularity. And if they think that they can save their butt in the midterms by providing a little bit of distance from themselves, from him on topics like tariffs or Israel or Epstein, they seem to be dabbling in that at the very least. Sharon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I like the way he counts too. Okay, as far as the polling goes and the turn on Trump, I think this time it is permanent. I do worry about the timing, and that, as you mentioned, with the Democrats and the momentum, is it starting too early? But I don't think so. We've now had 4 years of Trump, and then whatever your calendar is saying, however many days this term. And I think that this is gonna hold true. People have woken up. Marjorie Taylor Greene may still believe in, space lasers or something, but the rest of her is kind of working okay. She doesn't need a tune-up in all areas, just a few now. And I think that's like a lot of voters who had believed in this fake president.
Yeah. Yeah, it remains to be seen if this is a permanent and perhaps growing rift. I mean, at a certain point, it's always expected that, in your second term after the midterms, like, you're gonna lose influence. They're gonna be looking ahead of the next thing. He might not even make it quite that far. Now, he still has some ability to try to regain control of this. He could start some massive national emergency or something. He could launch a massive war. It looks like he's going to do that with Mexico and Venezuela. Maybe that would turn public opinion around on him, or maybe it would turn it even more against him. We'll have to see together. Okay, with that said, we had more polls that I would love to do. Maybe we'll do them on tomorrow's show, but for now, I do think we have to move to other news because Donald Trump's no good, very bad week is not limited just to the Epstein files or to polls or whatever. No, it goes into his businesses as well. The price of shares in President Donald Trump's media company, that being Trump Media and Technology Group, fell to a new low on Monday. It's already not a good week for him, and now it's actually starting to hurt him in the bank account. TMTG stock closed at $10.85 per share on the NASDAQ on November 17th. That is a 32% drop just in the last month, and the stock's lowest price ever since it was initially listed back on the 1st of October in 2021. So that was Monday. Has it rallied? No, it's actually dropped more. It hit 1052 on Tuesday. When we took the screenshot, it was at 1038. And as of right now, 1034, it continues to go down. Here's a fun chart. And why wouldn't it go down? It's not actually worth anything. It's a meme coin. It's an NFT. It's just the digital perceived value of Donald Trump's presidency. That's it. And so as his polling goes down, as he continues to bumble his way through crises, it's being reflected in this because it's not a real business anyway. But that said, let's have a little bit more fun at the expense of this stock. It was at $16 a share as recently as October 29th. That's less than 3 weeks ago. That compares to an all-time high of 97.54 just a couple of years ago. It is worth about 1/10 what it was at that point. But that said, they do have some plans to perhaps re-stimulate interest in this True Social platform. They say they're partnering with Crypto.com to offer betting on elections and sports. That'll turn them around. Because I know what a lot of people have been thinking. It's not easy enough to bet on things these days. It's so hard. I found an app on my phone that doesn't offer sports betting, and I don't think that's acceptable. I think it should be in literally everything. So sure, that'll be great. The only thing that True Social didn't have was scams intended to fleece its users. It's already full of that stuff. And so I'm gonna throw to you, Sharon, in just one sec. I gotta give you a message from what Ferriston calls the cow congressman. That's the CEO of True Social. That's Devin Nunes. He said, for too long, global elites have closely controlled these markets. With Truth Predict, we're democratizing information and empowering everyday Americans to harness the wisdom of the crowd, turning free speech into actionable foresight. For too long, global elites have closely controlled these markets. He's making it like he wants it to be a populist thing. They're gonna steal your money, okay? The rich people, including literal billionaires that control this platform, just wanna take even more of your money. God, these people hate their base, Sharon. What do you think?
Yeah, and I hate to use the sports betting reference and the scandal that broke not long ago, and now with baseball too, and how easy it is for guys to perhaps have a little bit of a gambling issue or to be embedded with people who do or who want to control things like mafiosa types. The fix is in. They're already stealing democracy and elections. So they're going to have poor suckers put up their money and twist it some kind of way. And then it's going to end up where everything collapses except for them, okay? And if they collapse, there'll be a bailout anyway. So this is the last thing we need, okay? He's going to rehabilitate it. Is MBS still in the country, by the way? because he'll just shake him and some other leaders down and say, you need to buy this, buy now. Okay, wink, wink. And they'll just give him more money. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like if, I can partially ruin the good news that this represents, it's that I don't think Donald Trump even cares about this anymore. Like, I think he just set up his crypto thing, and now Middle Eastern billionaires can just deposit hundreds of billions of dollars in there, and it's just his money. Like, what does he care about Trump media? He's gonna start like a media company to make money. No, it's just he just gets handed money by elites, and then he gives them what they want. We're way past this level of corruption, but still, I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. Okay, with that said, I think we've been too positive towards Donald Trump on today's show, so I think it's time to get a little bit critical of him, starting with this.
Sleep much, sleep a lot. He sleeps all the time. Fall asleep on the beach. He's not a sleeper. I'm not a sleeper. I don't want to sleep.
Yeah, if that wasn't already weird enough, we're gonna play the full context of why Donald Trump, while sitting next to one of the most notorious murderers in the world, can't stop talking about sleep. Take a look.
He does not sleep much, and I don't sleep much. I think we have the same schedule. And thinking about our countries. And if you sleep a lot and you're president, we just had one that slept more than any president. He broke every record. He sleeps all the time, during the day, during the night, on the beach. The only guy could fall asleep on the beach with the press watching. No, he's not a sleeper. I'm not a sleeper. We don't. We talk at night. We can talk. I can call him almost any time. He goes, hi, how you doing? It's like the craziest times. But no, when you love your job, when you love your country, and when you're in a position like we are, future king, highly respected, crown prince, and in my case, president, you're thinking about your country. You're thinking about making America great again. We're thinking about keeping Saudi Arabia strong and vital and in a pretty tough part of the world, tricky part, right? Tricky part. A lot of tricky people. But he thinks about his country and I think about my country. I don't want to sleep.
Yeah, look, obviously I'm gonna disagree with a lot of what Donald Trump said there, and I'm gonna be very critical of him in this section, but I do have to give it to him. It is a tricky part of the world. There's tricky people there. Did you know there's a leader in that region that chopped up a journalist? It's a rough area of the world, dangerous place. But anyway, yeah, why was Donald Trump talking about sleep constantly? Is it because Joe Biden fell asleep on the beach once? By the way, if you wanna fall asleep on the beach, you can fall asleep on the beach. It's a relaxing place. That's why you go to the beach. It's a normal thing to fall asleep at the beach, Donald Trump. It is not a normal thing to fall asleep during official Oval Office meetings and press conferences. And here we're gonna show to you the real reason that sleep is front of mind for Donald Trump.
People can sleep again because they can breathe as when they go to bed. Folks whose knees don't hurt. People who don't have heart attacks, renal failure, dementia. All the things we know are associated with obesity and much more.
So I love that clip, not only because Dr. Oz is talking about people being able to sleep again as Donald Trump in the corner is falling asleep, but then Dr. Oz made it even better by listing all of the very obvious health problems that Donald Trump himself is facing right now, among many others, by the way. But that's what it is. Dude falls asleep constantly. He falls asleep in court. He falls asleep outside at rallies and stuff like that. He falls asleep in the Oval Office. And look, I grant him, he does stay up very late tweeting or whatever. Like he's up late generating, deep fakes of him pooping on protesters and everything. But then you gotta catch up on your sleep sometime, and he does it while he's supposed to be working. I don't think that's actually as awesome as he makes it out to be, Sharon, but what do you think?
Okay, that was a very long soundbite. And to quote from the Biden-Trump debate, I don't know what he just said, and I don't think he does either, okay? And that was weird, okay? And then the killer, the crown prince killer next to him was kind of twiddling his thumbs and looking down, and what weirdos. By the way, I kept thinking, I watched it live. How do you know when he's up? Are you on the phone that much? Why are you talking about his sleep habits in another part of the world? This is very fishy behavior between both of them, but mostly the one who wouldn't stop talking there. It's just, what are you doing? He does need sleep. I don't know that that's gonna help us if he gets some, but he does actually need some sleep.
It might help his brain health. And I also just wish, I know that Donald Trump has spent decades building up, a circle of toadies and a psychological state where he can't really get the way the world and people around him really think about him. But I wish for a second he could just, in the middle of one of those weird rambling rants that you just saw, if he could just pause and realize nobody in that room respects him. Like even like the other corrupt, murderous elites or whatever, MBS sitting there, you think he gives a damn about Trump? You think he respects Donald Trump? He sees him the exact same way that we do. He is a rapidly decaying, dementia-ridden mess who's just ranting about insane stuff, weird grievances about Joe Biden falling asleep. MBS is killing people, wiping out the opposition, and making bank. You think he's harboring grudges about some guy who fell asleep years ago? No, they all disrespect Trump as much as we do, and I just wish Donald Trump could know that before the end. But either way, I just want the end to come. Anyway, with that said, that's all the time we have for today's show. As always, Sharon, it is a pleasure to have you here for Big News Wednesday. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, and to your entire team. I think this one should be nominated. Is there an award in this category? Because I had a blast. The way you brought it home, I loved it. Seriously, you and your whole team. So thanks for having me.
It's up for Emmy consideration, everyone. I don't think it's gonna happen. John Oliver, don't worry. You're gonna get the next award. Anyway, with that said, everybody, thank you for being here. So not only is tomorrow our members hangout, and by the way, there was a question from a longtime member about why they're limited to tier 3 members. It's just, we're coming up with perks of various ways of supporting people. We do lots of stuff that is not limited to different tiers, but for those who for a long time have done additional levels of support, we just give them this one extra thing. So I apologize if it's not possible for you to participate. It's just, we try to do lots of stuff totally freely, and then also some stuff that's for specific tiers of support. It's the sort of balance that we've struck. But either way, that will be happening tomorrow. Also, John Solo will be happening tomorrow, so I hope all of you are there to hang out with me, to discuss the news. For now, though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.